Hi, Henry. This is Janice.
Hello. Let's get some volume here.
Oh, hi, Susan. I just saw you on the other Zoom. And hear from Karen. Is she coming or what?
I heard that, but very faintly, Janice.
Oh, okay. I'll try to speak louder.
Yeah, I did get in
Talk to
touch with
Karen.
her, but I have not spoken to her in quite some time.
Oh,
I've left her messages, reminding her of the meetings and my phone number.
oh, okay.
But yeah,
Okay. I will follow up on that. See what's up. Huh.
okay. Well, we've got 4 of us here, which is a quorum. So let's get started.
Yeah, it's you, me, and Mateo, right?
There's 3 right now, yeah.
Oh, sorry, one more.
I know you're counting Susan, but
Susan count. Not for quorum.
Well, we have
Sorry.
people actually. We have guests tonight, so we'll give it a minute.
yeah.
We, we were just waiting for
Or
making quorum here. One more person, I think, is necessary for all those who are guests tonight.
how does the associate member situation work? Can they be activated to meet quorum, or is that ceremonial?
I don't know about that. It's a vote. Technically, they don't vote.
I've always been told I'm a non-voting member and I'd be happy to remain a non-voting member.
I think with like conservation commissions, they're non-voting. And there's an option to allow, and I think the planning board tried to do this before, to allow alternates or associates to be able to vote in the case where they don't have a quorum for other, appropriate reasons, or, something happened to somebody. But I think it has to be approved by the town first to allow a board to do that. Do you know, Susan?
Yeah, ours isn't, my appointment was not part of the statutory associate member thing. Mine was just because I seemed to be the one who had the best access and knowledge of the papers, and I'm
For
told
sure.
that I'm strictly there to help with, you know, the research and the files. So I know we can't just do it on the spot, and I'm just as happy not being a voting member.
It's
Or
moot
clear,
point
yeah.
at this point. We have our Bert, welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, starting time 7:05 technically.
Okay.
And I want to open it up to public comment, I guess, to start with, so folks get that out of the way. We have Susan and Mariah tonight. Who would like to go first? Go ahead, Susan.
Thanks, Mariah. I'm Susan Millinger, and I'm here from the Cemetery Commission. And in 23, we received a grant, CPA grant for historical preservation, for historical gravestone restoration. Let me get that right. And for that application, the Historical Commission very kindly wrote us a letter of support and provided a small grant, which I believe, if my memory serves, was $500, which we really appreciated. So guess what? We are applying this fall for the continuation of the project that we began in 23. It's a 2-stage project in which Tamara Conde of Historic Gravestone Services would continue the work she's doing to restore the older damaged stones in West Cemetery. She was working on 20 for the first half of the project, which is wrapping up, we hope, and she would do another 20 in 25. So we're here again to ask if you would be willing to write a letter in support of our project, and also if you'd be able to give us a grant, that would be wonderful. Do you have questions about the project?
Do you have any particular, you have a list already made up of ones that, I know she did some inventory work a couple of years ago. So you're working off of that on what's the most needy or dangerous or whatever?
Yes, precisely. Yeah. Okay. She had done, I've forgotten the date. Janice, you were probably on the Cemetery Commission. Remember the date? It was
Initially,
an
yeah.
earlier stage,
Yeah.
maybe 21, something like that.
We did the veterans then. Specifically, it was a veterans through Shrab. So we did, I don't know what it was, maybe a dozen or so veterans graves. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
that was in 2015.
Oh, okay.
That
Long ago.
Yeah, well, I think absolutely we'll write a letter of support.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I guess the question is what sort of grant we could offer at this time, and we probably want to deliberate about that a bit.
Sure.
How urgent is it to know that particular aspect of it?
Well, the decision about eligibility the form does ask about.
Ask for support.
Yeah, it does.
Financial, yes, okay.
Yeah,
So-
support. But I would think that Matteo would be the person to answer that question. But I would think we could suggest that we have asked for, and we expect to get a letter of support, and we're hoping we get a grant, but we
Yeah.
can't definitely say it at this time.
Yeah, I mean, I can say in terms of the CPC's process, having matching funding or having some kind of additional funding that has no bearing on eligibility. It's entirely about advisability, because the CPC looks for, at that stage, when you apply for the full grant in February, you would want to have some matching funding from Historical Commission or anywhere else. But in terms of like whether or not this meets the basic requirements of statute and case law, matching funding is, it's good to see, but it's not necessary for that stage.
Thank you.
We'll definitely decide tonight on a number of some kind. I'm just out of curiosity, Susan, was that a grant for about $34,000 or so, or?
The total, the two phase grant was for, okay, the project is priced at $22,500. Last time we requested, I believe we requested 10,000 from the CPA, and we provided some from Cemetery Commission funds, and we had a grant, which is really not all that small, $500, we think, from the Historical Commission. We also had a grant from the Friends of the Historical Commission, which is pretty much out of business these days. And they have given funds to us, and we would be using some of the funds they gave us. So we would be able to contribute more this year.
The only reason I ask is because I've been reviewing our town account, and I've seen that category for the cemetery, cemetery work. Sort of all these things are blended in together. When you look at the account for the commission, for your commission, do all these things, do you see our stuff as well, or is it just?
To tell you the truth, it would be Walter who would look at it, the chair.
Okay.
And I'm hoping that we will get to see it, because it would be wonderful to get the kind of information we haven't had in the past. But there may be, I'm not sure how it works, because we still are using the grant that we received, the previous grant we received in 23. So there may be, and we haven't spent all our money yet because the weather is keeping her from doing the work she needs to do to complete the project. But there could be some money that's sort of unspent that's showing up in the grant to us, previous grant.
Uh-huh.
Mateo, would you know about that?
I mean, I wouldn't know about the Historical Commission's portion of it. I mean, the CPA funding has a 3-year time frame for use. But I don't think the CPA money appears in those
No.
particular lines in the budget. I think that's a separate part of the budget, is Community Preservation Act funds.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions for Susan or comments?
Do you happen to know offhand, after this stage, how many more stages are coming, or how many more gravestones would need work?
We have not talked about that. We've asked Tamara to do the worst ones first.
Yeah. I mean, incredible work. Like, looking at the photos from the reports from the last project, it's incredible. The transformation.
Yes, and you could go by West Cemetery now and see the beautiful work that she's done just in cleaning some of the stones.
Yeah.
There are always other cemeteries that need work too.
That is true.
Yeah, there's the Locks Pond one.
Yeah, that one's in serious condition.
I mean, I think the Locks Pond one, it would be great to not only have some care of the stones, but also improving some kind of access to it. It's so hard to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, although, there are some advantages for a cemetery being hard to access, especially when there aren't people constantly seeing it. At least being on Leverett Road, people drive by and see what's going on or walk in the cemetery, but Locks Pond is more secluded.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I agree, it would be easy. It would be nice to be easier to get in.
Okay.
Moving right along then.
Thank you very much for letting me have this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mariah, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much. I don't necessarily have anything specific to contribute today. I was just interested in the Historical Commission. we moved to the Baker farm about a year ago. And I know like our house in particular is quite old. And I've been discussing with Leslie a little bit, just trying to get some of the history of our home and of our land. And it's something that I'm interested in. And she said that I should come by and try and join this meeting and, you know, observe a little bit. So I'm hoping that I can do that and not bother you guys too much.
Not at all.
Um,
Not at all.
I'm possibly interested in joining. I think I may possibly have some things to contribute in terms of services potentially in the future. So, but
Would you
this is
like
my
to
first
tell,
meeting. So.
yeah, would you like to
Cool.
tell us maybe a bit about yourself and as it relates to the historical commission, perhaps?
Um, sure. So, before we moved here, I was in the process of starting my business digitizing people's family archives. And so I do a lot of photo scanning, document scanning, or at least I was before we moved here. I've been very busy with the farm, but it's definitely something that I want to get back into. And I would be happy to, you know, do some scanning for you guys if that's something that's of interest, and some digitizing, some archiving, things like that. If that's a way that I can be of service to you guys, I'm happy to do that or to talk about that.
Cool.
At the moment, that's kind of what I have to
Yeah.
contribute, but you know, I can also give time, which I'm happy to do. So I'd like to just get involved in the town, and I think this is a really good way to do that. So
Yeah.
Very helpful.
Well,
Yes.
stick around.
Yeah.
It's not over yet. Okay. Welcome, Erin.
Hi, I'm sorry I'm late.
Hi,
Oh,
Aaron.
no, nobody's late at this point.
Okay.
No, Erin just drove up from New York.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
It was a longer journey than expected, as usual.
Well, thank you for coming.
Yeah,
My
thanks.
pleasure.
Yeah. So we're just hearing from folks who are interested in the commission, and you arrived just in time
Oh, great.
to maybe. I know you circulated some information, and I think most of the committee is familiar with your background. But if you want to just give a statement as to your background and interest.
Sure. So I am a special collections librarian by training. I've worked in special collections libraries with printed books and manuscript materials from I think the earliest materials I've worked with are like 15th or 16th century up
Wow.
until the present. And that includes archival collections of letters and other kinds of documents. And oh, let's see. I now run the Bibliographical Society of America, a small organization that is devoted to fostering the study of books and other textual objects for their materiality. And yeah, I'm interested in serving on the committee because I want to contribute in a way that feels meaningful, where I feel like the skills and knowledge I have will actually be useful. And this is, you know, the professional specialization I've developed over the past 15 years. And I hope it could be useful to the group. I spoke a little bit with Matteo earlier this summer, I think it was, about some of the things you're working on. And yeah, I'm a new to Shutesbury, and it'd just be really nice to get to know people and give back a little bit.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's we do have a lot of need in the area of archiving. Lots of material has not been dealt with
Okay.
for digitization. So in case you haven't met, Mariah also is applying for this, trying to get in on the committee as well.
And we're neighbors.
Oh, you are.
Oh. Ah,
Yeah, I live on Baker Road also.
Oh, that makes three of us. I'm on Baker too. The Baker guy.
Mob.
Yes. Yeah, we've been putting off a pretty serious. We actually had a state rep come and review our situation in terms of our holdings at the old town hall. So there's lots of material there, books and photographs and various things.
Papers.
Well, I'm happy to contribute, in any way. If you don't think I'm a good fit for the committee, if it would be helpful to have a pair of eyes on things. I worked for several years at a place called the New York Society Library, which is the oldest library in New York City. And as part of that role, I was working on a major digitization project to make those records available, mostly 18th century records, but a little bit into the 19th century. I wrote a grant to get those papers processed, so I know a little bit about how you actually go from we have these things to these things are accessible to others via a computer interface. Like there's a lot of steps between those from one to the next. So happy to contribute that knowledge in any way that you think is useful.
That's
I
great.
think that'd be really neat because we've talked for quite a while and have had a couple of starts and stops on trying to figure out sort of how to get going and to what to start with in terms of putting some things onto the websites for common use. And right now, Leslie is our interface. She knows the files, and we have questions or people call town. They talk to Leslie and she finds the material and lets them know what it is. So at some point she may want to stop that, or in the meantime, she's a very valuable resource to us for the present and for the transition as well. And we've just sort of dropped the ball and had difficulty getting going on doing the organizing and the digitizing.
Well, great to see so much enthusiasm here. And you're welcome to stay on tonight just to observe and see what you make of us.
Most of it is just people finding the time to go through it. And we had started with that grant that Miriam got with the Mass Archives with Greg, and he'd outlined the room. But it's a matter of going through each drawer, each paper, each file, and figuring that out. And I hear Erin saying she would write a grant to find somebody to do that work, but
I'm happy to help with that. And I know of organizations that fund that kind of work.
That would be helpful.
Part of my professional
it's monumental to take it on and make those decisions. And the other question I always run into is, well, I might think this is not important, but what does who decides? And, or I might think this is important because I know the town too well, but really it's not. And I just don't feel comfortable making those decisions on my own.
Yeah, depending upon how you wanted to approach it and the level of training that you wanted to have the person, we would say processing the archives, you need to process before you can get to the digitization phase. You won't get grant. If you want grant funding and you try and just go straight to digitization, you're not going to get grant funding. So processing is the magic word in between those. We have the stuff, we want the digital. And processing, you've totally identified the challenging work of it. And, I think trained archivists are really good at making judgment calls to decide when the perfect is the enemy of the good. Right. Like at a certain point, you have to let, you can't do everything perfectly. And so, yeah, that's my experience. I don't know if that's helpful to hear.
Yeah, it is.
And I gather it's a fairly labor-intensive process, though, of sifting documents and.
yeah, the physical arrangement, the intellectual like description and bibliographical control, like these are all the sort of terms of the trade, and it does take time, but you know, it can be done. It happens all the time.
Right.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Henry, we have two open seats right now, right?
We do.
Assuming Karen is still on the commission, we have two.
Yep.
So good.
I would make a motion, if that's all right,
Yep.
that the commission recommends to the select board the appointment of Aaron McGurl and Mariah Shore to the two open seats on the historical commission.
If they're open to doing it, of course.
If they
Yeah,
would,
if Mariah's ready, just shows up and
Either
suddenly you're
one.
going to get appointed.
Yeah.
Both of them.
I mean, I would point out that we don't, just to clarify for Mariah and Aaron, the historical commission, we don't get to appoint our own members. It's done through the select board, and they usually politely defer to the recommendations of the committee or commission
Yep.
or board. But you know, it would ultimately be up to the select board.
It sounds
So I would
like
just like to say, sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, just that my experience like pales in comparison to Erin's, and you
I think
know,
mine does too, though.
Yeah, me
where
too.
I can, where you know, I'm happy and excited to learn, and what I do have is time, especially through the winter, because we're very slow on our like farm projects here, and so I can donate my time. And if you're willing to teach me, I'm very happy to learn and continue on with this work. So you know, I can be boots on the ground if that's something that you're interested in. But like obviously, comparatively, you know,
I mean, I can't
I'm
speak
just
to
going to defer.
I can't speak to the rest of the commission, but I think that it, as a board, we're stronger with a range of experiences and perspectives. And like, I mean, I certainly don't come anywhere close to Aaron's background or like Bert's background or Janice's or Henry's. We all bring our own sort of unique the things that we do, but the important thing is that we all represent a part of this community.
Yeah, and it seems to me that both of you have something to offer that we could definitely use.
Yeah, the only thing I would say though is that, and Leslie could speak to this, the heating issue in the old town hall.
Yeah.
I sure can.
Uh,
None.
you have to bundle up. Basically, it's right.
I think that, well, it used to go down to 50 degrees. I've recently been told they turned the heat right off, and I'm not sure if that's accurate or if 50 degrees sounds like it's turned off. I see Aaron's eyeballs go up because of climate control. The vault is climate controlled. When we speak of our records, it's either photocopies of things in the vault that have been put into collections that make sense, or it's papers and materials that people have given us, or it's copies of things from other sources, photos, but this is the best we have to offer. We're not climate controlled in our little closet. In fact, I read just recently in a document I'm going to send to Mateo that the room that we're using used to be the woodshed for the 1829
Ah.
building when they heated by wood. So
Oh,
don't get your hopes up for something magnificent, Darren. It'll be a new experience.
Believe me, I have opened many boxes with mouse poop, copious mouse poop before.
I wear
Yeah.
snow pants and my hat and gloves in the winter.
I did want to ask a question about just the time commitment and like what your near-term goals are.
I would say, and I speak for, I think for everyone here, others can comment, but this is not a rush job. There's no hurry. It's a project that has been on and off. It'd be nice to just get it started. And
Cool.
as far as the pace goes, I think it'd be up to you, or up to a grant if that were
Right.
a condition.
Sometimes I spend no time, and on the snow day, Thursday, I spent 7 hours going through papers trying to ferret out one answer for someone who needed it, and I found it, but
Wow,
Wow.
7
it
hours.
was
Oh my
snowing and I
goodness.
didn't feel like doing anything else, so there you have it.
Wow.
Okay, so any other questions, comments? We did have a motion.
And
Is it-
both of the applicants are okay with that possibility of,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I'll second it,
all right,
Janice.
So going around, Fernandez,
Aye.
Geddes, I, Pangallo,
Aye.
and Stone.
Aye.
Okay.
Are you going to do that, Henry? Then send something to the select board?
Yeah, I guess that's
Okay.
my job.
Okay.
It's a simple one.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the guide board.
Yeah. Thank you, Mariah and Aaron also.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you both for
You're
coming.
welcome.
You're welcome to hang out. So as for the guide board for Mariah and Aaron, there used to be a signpost at the at the common that gave directions to Wendell, Amherst, etc. And we have taken it away for renovation. And at this point, we're trying to figure out, I guess, where it is right now, but also a second phase for that guide board. So that's the topic of discussion next. And my understanding is that the first phase is almost done.
Yes. So Peter Mahoney's last correspondence with me was to indicate that the first phase is almost finished and the lettering is almost fully repainted.
Oh, good.
So presumably starting this spring, we need to be ready to talk about what happens with that phase 2.
Right.
So the change in the paint and some of the other stuff, or the specifics for the paint from Steve Smolsky's recommendations didn't make a difference in the contract or in the cost at this point.
Nope, they incorporated his suggestions about the paint and about the base, not the foundation, but like the water shedding base. All those things are included within that scope of work. So, yay!
Okay. Yay!
No second grant for that part.
Relief.
But there is a second and third grant for the foundation and for the roof cap, which raises both sort of practical financial questions and sort of philosophical historical questions for us to address.
Okay.
Do we have to decide on what to do with the roof?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so this is in process of being repainted. And yeah, as Bert mentioned, we have to decide we have to, I mean, I guess I'm not entirely clear who makes this decision. I would hope it's us. But as we've seen, the buildings committee feels some ownership here, and obviously the select board has legal ownership here. But the question comes down to that upper roof piece, which Smolsky and Williamstown found to be not historically authentic. That is from post 1939, and the original guide board didn't include it. So we
know what was there before, Mateo?
I think it was just a peak. It was the shingles continued up to a peak. I'd have to go back and look at
We,
the.
we have no way of knowing what the very original early
Yeah.
1800 guide board looked like. When folks talk about original with asphalt shingles, that's 20th century. We honestly don't have pictures from way back when.
Yeah, Leslie, I don't remember what the oldest one is, but I think the Williamstown one said, I don't know if I can find it, but the Williamstown project conservators assumed that it looked something like the photo from 1939, which I'm trying to find right now.
Mhm.
But Smolsky's suggestion was if we didn't include the cap, oh no, excuse me. Opening up his email right now.
Did the Western cedar or Western red cedar suggestion come from him?
Yeah, so he suggested replacing existing shingles with all heartwood vertical grain Western red cedar with oil-based penetrating non-film forming water repellent over cedar breather plastic mesh. If the and this is what he wrote. If the non-original roof cap is retained, replace the lead sheeting with the same shingles as used for the lower roof. So he didn't advise to retain it or not, but either way,
Yeah, it's not his forte anyway.
yeah, when we get to phase 2, we're going to need more funding for this. We need to apply for another grant. So for my, the CPC, because of a technical error with Zoom and the lack of Zoom accounts from the town, which I think Henry can commiserate with, we had to change our meeting date. And so the deadline for determinations of eligibility is now this Friday instead of this previous Friday. So Friday the 13th. So if we're going to apply for 2 grants, one for the foundation and one for phase 2, the roof cap, I would like to be able to submit those 2 determinations of eligibility.
Yeah.
Sense?
Can you just, last time you and Henry were going to write a letter to the buildings committee to find out if they were willing to do the application for the cement base or do it with us or something. Has anything happened with that?
So I wrote it, so we're doing it, but they have agreed to be a endorser or that they are fully supporting it.
Okay.
They're going to implement that.
Right. So we're writing the grant and they are going to take charge of the project, I guess.
But they didn't give you an idea of how much it would cost to, I mean, it's just a cement base, right?
No, they didn't. Yeah, they did not respond to my question about cost. So I, with my infinite expertise in Renaissance drama, did research to concrete, and came up with a ballpark figure of $4,000, which seems like a hell of a lot of money for a simple square concrete base.
Yes.
I don't know, Bert, if you have any other insight into that.
I don't know.
That's for concrete, gravel, flashing, hardware, lumber, other supplies, and labor. And then 3,000 is the amount being requested in the grant, less $1,000 in in-kind labor.
Which will be the building committee.
It's not going to be me.
Yeah.
Well, did the building committee actually give us a cost estimate? I don't think they did.
No, they didn't. I asked them and they kind of danced around and I didn't get any numbers.
They never did.
But if you want me to, I can ask somebody who might know better, but actually,
I mean, for the purposes of the determination of eligibility, which is due this Friday, I think a ballpark is fine. But I think, obviously when we get to the stage of the grant application, which is due in February, we need to have a specific number attached to some kind of quote or something.
Okay.
To present to the rest of the committee.
There was some specification, right, about it has to be a number of some distance above the cement slat somehow.
So the guide board there should be a 1 to 2 inch gap between the concrete and the bottom of the skirt board.
And that, how would that be made? Is that specified?
No, there's no indication of how that would be made or how the guide board would be attached. I'm assuming from something on the inside of it into the concrete. I mean, it's not going to go anywhere, but it has to be lifted up 1 to 2 inches.
Yeah.
This is
Okay.
why we need to hire a contractor or somebody who knows how to do this.
Yep.
Okay, and then for the roof cap, is there any way to get an estimate on what that might be? Did Williamstown know anything?
So Williamstown would, but I did not want to, and they offered to provide us with a quote, but I didn't want to say yes without an approval from the commission.
Uh-huh.
So if we can vote tonight on basically, yes, we would like Williamstown to give us a quote for phase 2 and authorizing me to apply to at least submit a determination of eligibility off of that. I can talk to them tomorrow and hopefully they can get it to us before Friday, but
Do we have to decide first if we want that cap up there or not, or who's gonna decide that?
We should.
I think we should proceed under the assumption that we are making that decision. But I think part of what we're paying Williamstown for is their recommendation now that they've kind of looked at the inside of this thing.
And originally there was no cap, you said, right?
Before
think not.
1939, there was not. We don't know what was there before that, but there's a lot that's on the guide board that is not original. It's a ship of Theseus. You know, pieces of it have been replaced over time. But the guide board is not the same. The problem is the top roof piece is not the same. The problem is if we remove the top roof piece and then people in town are driving by, there might be some outrage because it's not the familiar thing that they've seen for the past almost 100 years.
Good point.
Leslie, as a long-term interest in this, what do you think about the cap?
What's that?
Is Leslie
it's
still
just
here?
Leslie, I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe she's busy.
She's muted.
All right. Well, Henry, you were going to speak. I'm sorry, Jane.
Yeah, no, it occurred to me that again, this whole question of we know that the buildings committee is offered to do the installation for it, right? The cement, etc. And I don't know. I guess the question is, should we put out a bidding kind of process, at least to see if the buildings committee has some input based on Smolsky's recommendations
Bidding for the phase 2?
For phase 2. He did have some very, very specific recommendations for the roofing. Yes, the shingles.
Though he did, I would just note that Williamstown is already doing his recommendations for the lower roof piece.
Okay.
My concern is if they already have the artifact, right?
Yes.
We would be responsible for transporting it to another place if somebody else were to do something else to the roof piece. Not that I'm not saying that we should just sort of out of hand let Williamstown do it, but I think that at this point, and we went with them because they were the most cost efficient experts in the area who could handle it.
Yeah.
I would.
The only reason I raise it is that there may be a cost difference if maybe somebody could, has the experience to do the same thing for less, but we can see how it goes, what they offer, what their quote is.
I mean, I certainly would not, I mean, no disrespect to the buildings committee, but I don't think that I would want them responsible for handling the preservation and restoration of the roof piece of this.
Mhm.
I don't think any of them are conservators.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but I think, working with them, in my understanding, is the highway department to deal with the concrete pad is one thing, but dealing with the roof piece, I feel like I'd rather have the experts do that.
Yeah, I
Me
think
too,
I agree
especially,
with that.
yeah, and it's already there too, so it can all be
Yep.
done
Yep.
safely.
Having moved it once, I'd rather not move it again,
Except to bring it back.
except to bring it back. Yeah.
Let's see what they say then.
I think with the cap, we are at the same, kind of the same situation that we were before with whether to cover this thing or not. We can make a recommendation, but in the end, the select board will make the decision, right?
Yeah. Well, we recommend, I mean, the cap, it has a cap on it. Williamstown could, renovate it to whatever extent and make changes to it. It shouldn't be that big a deal.
So you're saying, so you would prefer to see the upper roof retained?
Well, if it's the most practical thing to do, I'm not sure what. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's something that Williamstown could comment on.
Seems to me that historically speaking, that the what has been added through the years is part of the history of the object at this point.
Mhm.
I mean, that's one way to look at it. The other way is that we want it to be as close to the original as possible. And I'm not sure that one is right or wrong.
People may complain if it's not the same signpost.
Yeah,
That's the other
I mean,
thing.
people may complain no matter what.
I think we should just get the quote from Williamstown so we can, proceed with the grant application, and then if we need to modify it before the final is in, we can do that.
Right.
And, I don't know if we need to ask the select board about the top to the roof. Maybe we need to, or should, or whatever. I feel more worried about that than the base for sure. And we have a, historical concern. And I don't know what their concern is, other than if they're used to seeing it one way or the other or something like that.
Probably.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think their primary concern is what's going to satisfy the most people in town or not upset the most people in town. I would be curious to know from Williamstown about whether or not the upper roof also provides any kind of, or maybe Smolsky would know this, about a protective function. If it's helping to shed water or,
Yeah.
or is it merely added as a decorative element? But I think I agree with Bert, right? Like this is, maybe it's not the way it appeared originally, but it's looked like this for nearly 100 years now. And it's part of the story that the object tells.
100 years is a long time. Okay, so we need to vote to get a quote from Williamstown. Yes.
So yeah, so I guess there are three separate motions. The first one would be to authorize me to submit a determination of eligibility to the CPC for the concrete foundation portion. The second would be authorizing me to contact Williamstown for a quote for phase 2. And then the third would be authorizing me to submit a determination of eligibility to fund phase 2.
But before we ask him for a quote, we have to tell him cap or no cap, right?
I assume so.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know if that's a decision we ultimately get to make, but I think that we should proceed as if we get to make that decision.
And what I'm hearing from everybody is that we would rather leave it the way it is. I mean, proceed
No.
and keep it. No?
I'd rather have it the original way, well, not original, the earlier way. I think it looks nice like that too. And I'm trying to send, I just screwed up. I'm trying to send a picture to Mateo from the old pictures that we had of the guide board. Or do you happen to have one there that shows it without without that extra little top?
If you give me a second, I can dig back through the CPC application that Miriam sent because I think that had the photos in it.
Yeah, and I know I had one here somewhere. I think it actually looks rather nice without it.
My
And for
gosh.
what it's worth, the sort of similar but much larger one in New Salem doesn't have that little cap either. It does not have the little cap, period.
It may well be that the ultimate criterion is to go with the option that best protects it. How about that? Huh?
On some photos.
I sent you, okay, I sent you one, Mateo. Yeah, I think it's the same thing. I just zoomed in on mine on one instead.
Can't really see it.
It's getting there.
It has a little something on top, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It
looks
also
small.
base looks quite different.
It looks more solid to me.
The base looks a lot like the New Salem one, where it has a red painted base. Sort of, yeah, the base does look really different.
These are all the quotes. I thought there were more photos in this. Sorry, you guys are all gonna get seasick from that. No, that's not it.
I thought there were some too.
My thought is that the base looks different because it's painted red also,
Yeah, that's
or
true.
green. I'm not sure which color.
Yeah.
They had a scheme of green and white for town buildings, so I would guess that it might be green.
Ah, uh-huh. So Leslie, what do you think about to keep the cap or not? You know, based on, you know, what people are used to seeing, how far back do you go to try to be more original, all that sort of stuff?
Well, my opinion doesn't really matter. I always liked the higher cap that Groves put on, but I don't think he did that till 2009 or something like that. This one looks fine too. I I think the point is trying to keep the public enjoying what they see.
Mm-hmm.
Without a poll vote, we don't know.
Yeah. There's something on top of that, but it's not the same as the one we've got now.
Right.
Leslie, did you say that Bob Gross is the one who put on the
Groves,
cap?
Groves. In 2009, we paid him, I think it was 1,200. It might have been 1,900. Yeah, $1,900 to do essentially what you're repairing right now. And he did not have the professional expertise that Williamstown has. But I just ran into that. I ran into that invoice while I was doing my 7 hours of research, and I kind of chuckled to myself.
But Leslie, do you think that this cap that we're seeing in this picture here was he removed that and did the other one? Or
I'm not. Janice has been around a long time too. I can't actually remember. There's plenty more photos in our photo album. I might be able to come up with something between this one, which still has the horse sheds in the background to the right of the church. So that makes it before the mid 1930s. There should be photos of the guide board available between this time and Bob Groves, but I don't have them with me.
Well, something to look into Who would like to take that on?
Looking into finding the photos, I can do that
photograph.
tomorrow.
No?
I can do it tomorrow and send you folks across the, all of you the pictures, but
Okay.
Okay.
So I mean, I know that I presented this with this pressing timeline of Friday for the determinations of eligibility. We can apply for a grant without having applied for a determination of eligibility. I, I would assume, I would hope that this would be found eligible since it seems to pretty clearly fall under historic preservation. But we could also kind of skip that stage and say we're going to just aim for the February grant deadline for phase 2, in which case we don't have to worry about rushing over the next couple of days to make this call. We could aim to vote at our next meeting to submit a full grant. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is everyone agreed to doing that?
Because that would give us time for Leslie to look for those photos, and then at our next meeting we could make a decision. And in the meantime, I could also, with the commission's permission, reach out to Williamstown and ask them to go ahead and give us a quote for phase 2.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Mateo, I just sent you a second email, and that one has a picture of the guide board in 1931 being moved by a horse and person from one place to another, slightly on the common. And that one's just maybe, a similar photo, I guess, to this one, some around the same time period, but a slightly different view of it.
I don't think I've ever seen this one.
You think they consulted the historical commission back then before moving it?
No, but
What's-
you can see the rock base or whatever there.
Yeah, it's definitely on a base of some kind. It does not have a roof. Look at that fantastic tractor. What
that
size is
base is still there.
Yeah.
That stone is flat right on the corner of Leverett and Cooleyville Road.
Mm-hmm.
that's not where the guide board was. There's nothing under
The guide board got moved over onto those concrete blocks.
Huh.
And you're not going to move that stone.
No.
It's big.
And we're supposed to use the concrete now anyway.
Yeah.
So I think that one's pretty decent. And this, I think I probably got this from Leslie.
You did.
I would say, yes, right.
I
And
think I
sorta
gave
like
you
that.
everything I could find.
Yeah, I was quickly trying to go through my file while we were talking. At any rate, so, we know that it's slightly older model to at least not have the other part of the cap on top. I guess I would like to know, does it, is it better for the structure one way or the other to have or not have that additional cap? In terms of water leakage, shedding, whatever.
That's it's beyond our expertise, or at least my expertise. So I would leave it to.
So just from a visual, whatever point of view, I like the older one without the extra top. But that's just the personal view of it.
The older one is also not shingled, or at least not clearly
True.
shingled.
Yeah, not clearly, no. Huh.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm curious if this this raised cupola section of this structure causes water to fall and then drop or push back onto that wall so that it would rot. Does that make any sense?
Where do you mean, shedding from the cupola top or from the rest of it, or what?
Yeah, shedding from the tippy top,
Uh-huh.
and then bouncing back onto that flat wall before it sheds all the way down the roof. I think it would be less likely to happen with a shorter top piece.
Did we get anything from the sorry, Williamstown people about what would be the material used if we had just the flat top, the small flat top?
No, the extent of their note about phase 2 was, and then we'll do phase 2.
Okay.
Aaron, you had a comment, question.
Yeah. I got out of the car and ran onto the screen, so I'm going to hop off because I'm really hungry.
Oh, by all means.
Like, I can't listen anymore because I'm too distracted by human functioning needs.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
having me. I just
All
didn't
right.
want to disappear without saying
Okay.
thank you and
Thank
good
you.
evening. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
So I don't know. I came into this feeling pretty sure about sticking with the roof as is, but Janice's points and also the sort of thinking about these questions about water shedding, and I don't know. Now I'm not so sure. And I would like a little more guidance from, I guess, Williamstown. I don't know, maybe there are other people that we could reach out to who are experts about what is best practices here. I mean, the other thing to think about is, we can't use CPA money for replicas,
Mm-hmm.
um, or for things that are not sort of his actual historical preservation. Um, does putting a non-original roof back on this object, is that something we can even fund with CPA money? I guess this raises eligibility questions.
Haha.
Um,
I don't think so because we don't know the original history. We're calling 1931
Yeah.
history, but you could call 2009 history too. That concept has been raised.
Mm-hmm. That was just part of the evolution of the piece.
okay, I guess what I would ask for then is approval to submit the determination of eligibility for the concrete foundation project,
Yeah.
and approval to contact Williamstown for their device. And I mean, we might as well ask them for a quote on both versions.
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Options for it.
Yep.
You think Steve Smolsky would have an opinion
Probably.
on what was
For sure.
on what would be a better design in terms of preserving the structure?
Yeah. I mean, I would feel
Out of-
comfortable asking him that kind of question. Definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would ask him about like what is best practices from a historical conservation perspective,
No.
Mhm.
but probably in terms of wood protection.
Yeah. But in the meantime, get the quote for both. So
Yeah.
then we'll know what way to go. Okay. And
You
then
want
you
me to
had,
talk to Steve? You want me to ask Smolsky?
I mean, I'm
Sure.
comfortable with that, yeah.
Oh, you were gonna ask. I didn't hear that. Okay.
Oh no, I mean, I have no contact with him other than the stuff that he sent us. So if you have a contact or relationship with him,
I
I've got
can call him and ask him what he thinks about that
Okay.
that part of it.
okay.
That'd be good. Yeah. I distinctly remember at the meeting with him and the select board that I asked him if he would be available for consultation, and he agreed.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's very willing.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So, and then the third thing that Mateo was going to ask for is permission or whatever to submit the application of eligibility for the roof as well. Is that,
Yep.
so we're going to do that?
yeah, but at this point, since I mean, that's due by this Friday,
Mm-hmm.
unlikely that not only will we have probably
Quote.
not heard back from Smolsky and Williamstown by then,
Yeah.
there's no way we'll have met to make a choice by then. So what I would suggest is that we skip the determination
Okay.
of eligibility and you know, with the commission's permission, I can send a letter to the CPC saying like, just be aware that we're likely going to be submitting an application for the full grant in February, but we're going to skip the eligibility phase and just roll the dice on the assumption that this is eligible.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
That sounds good to me. I don't know if we need to vote on all these things, but
Well, we probably should.
yeah.
Okay, so I'll make the motion to authorize Mateo to submit an application of eligibility for the concrete base. Is that more or less the right language?
And related related processes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Related work. Okay. All
A
right.
second.
Okay.
So going round, Fernandez,
Yay, aye.
Geddes, I, Pangalo,
Aye.
and Stone.
Aye. Okay, and now I guess I'll to have a vote to authorize Mateo to contact the Williamstown Art Conservation Center for a quote on both options for the roof design.
Second that.
Round, Fernandez,
Aye.
Geddes, I, Pangalo,
Aye.
and Stone.
Aye. Okay. And then who's going to talk to Smolsky? Bert, you're going to?
Yes, I can talk to him.
Okay. Okay. Good, thanks. Okay. And does Henry have to sign that application of eligibility or something? Mateo, or can you do that, or is there no signature necessary?
There is a signature on it, but I can do it.
Okay.
I mean, we just voted that I'm going to submit it, so.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. All right.
And the third one is to be
We'll
determined.
wait on. Yep.
Okay. Any
Okay.
other discussion on this? It's working itself out, isn't it?
Well, fingers crossed.
Yeah. So if none, I have on the agenda a discussion of the enforcement policy. I have not been working on it, so I'm
I
going to
don't.
leave it for another
Okay.
time.
Okay.
My car died.
Oh
I'm
no.
looking for a car.
Oh.
The worst time of year.
Oh.
But is there any unanticipated business? I know Janice was asking questions about the account,
Yeah.
and I have contacted. Well, Janice, could you elaborate just briefly?
Okay, yeah, the only thing I remember seeing, and I took a photo of it while it was up on the screen, was the one page of the ledger history for the historical commission budget. And I had a 2-page thing before that gave a lot more information. It was from back in June of 2024. It must have come through you guys or something. But at any rate, I would like to see the one that lists all the different things in it. It has the various gravestone things, Old Town Hall structure repairs, all that sort of stuff, War Memorial Grant. I don't know. It has much more information than just that final page. So I would just like to see a copy of the full expenditure ledger, which is 2 pages, just to understand what's going on. I did talk to Joan Hanson, and she said that before the Friends sort of, moved off into the sunset, they voted all these different grants for different projects, and that she did write a check for from the Friends of the Historical Commission to the Historical Commission, and gave it to, I guess it was to Gail at any rate. So she distributed all the funds that the Friends had voted on giving for different projects. So Gail should have that in
Yep.
the ledger or whatever.
Well, I've written to Gail,
Yeah.
and she has offered to itemize
Okay.
all of our lines of budget.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so it'd be good to see if we can find that $1,000.
Yep. Yeah. It doesn't show up except in, I think, yeah.
Well, there,
I'll
yeah, I
bring that
see it
to-
on my old ledger from 5/31/24. It says gift, town common guide board restoration, $1,000. At that point, it was still there. It has not been touched. Now, I don't know about, as of now, but
Okay.
as of 5/31/24, it hadn't been used yet,
Right.
just so we know.
Well, I'll bring that up at our next meeting.
Okay.
Yep.
One of the things that the new interim town administrator is doing is posting, I think it's supposed to be monthly, maybe, the state of the town accounts
Oh, that'd be great.
up on the website. So I believe it is under, a second here. Yeah, it's under, I don't know why it is under
Ah.
departments, but if you go to departments and then budget information,
Uh-huh.
it's she's put up the expense reports with links also to all the budgets.
So
this one-
that's available now on the town website?
Yeah, it's up on the website.
Super.
Oh,
Okay.
That's a nice idea.
Now, does that list everything? That looks like just the basic, that looks like the regular budget that we vote on
Yeah,
every year,
yeah, yeah.
not
I-
on the other funds and stuff, right?
It's not
Grants?
itemized, I'm sure.
Not down to grants. This looks like the
There is a
regular budget. Oh, I
CPA
see.
for
Okay,
CPA.
it does have some.
I mean, it's useful. It's still like there's still questions I have about like
But
how
like,
someone
can
calculate.
you scroll back? Can you scroll back that page? So under recreation, oh, that's historic. So okay, so that shows the $1,000 gift to the town common guide board. And it doesn't show the 500 for the cemetery that Susan was talking about,
No, them.
unless that was 1,000. Maybe it was 1,000 that we did right about in the middle. It says gift restore West Cemetery. I don't know the date on that, but that may be.
Well, there was
Maybe.
500. There was 500 from the historical commission and 500 from the commission, plus the 10,000 from the CPA grant.
Okay. I mean, some of these are pretty old.
Janice, money for the cemetery commission would be probably on the cemetery commission page.
Yeah.
This is the historical commission page. And
This
at
is-
one
this
of
is
the our meetings, we did find that she was confused herself, the accountant, about whose department it went in. But I'll bet you if we scrolled up, we'll find it under cemetery commission. Not positive.
These are,
Okay.
so these are the CPA, or these are the CPA grant projects.
Oh, okay. Oh, right.
And
Okay.
There's a separate, sorry, you guys, I'm gonna scroll
Oh,
quickly.
no, that's
Yeah.
good. Okay.
Yeah.
There is a separate section with historical commission.
Oh, okay. Oh, excellent. Great. Wonderful.
Here we go, right here. So all of
Okay.
these,
Okay. Let's see. Town pound. That's ancient.
I mean, there's money for the Hearst house still.
So what happens to that? Leslie, do you have any idea from some of those old?
I do know that the Hearst house is in need of being painted again. I don't know how much.
Oh.
I'm trying to read here how much is there, and I'm not seeing it.
500.
I
It says
think the
500.
last time it was painted
Oh, zero.
by an ad hoc group that was led by Mike Vinsky, who I believe was on the select board at that time, and he was trying to save the town money. So I don't know where the money came from. Might have been historical, but we just bought the paint, and a group of us, he and Patty, were very instrumental in organizing it and getting it done.
What is the Hearst house?
It's the building in front of the West Cemetery that looks like a garage, but actually was built in, I think, 1842. It housed our hearse, which was a horse-drawn item,
Oh,
and has become the housing things like lawnmowers and that today. But when they took it apart and redid it, they found the original boards from an up and down water-powered sawmill. They found Newton D. Crossman had put his initials on a board up in the top, the northeast corner above the, it's just a treasure. It looks like a garage, but it did, and now it looks more like a hearse house because it's been raised back up, but it's a treasure.
I
Ooh, that's
I
wonderful.
I assume if you look at the line for the historical commission, that we the that number, the ending,
Hmm.
19,572, that includes the contribution from the Quabbin event, because it was 17,000 plus before, at least
Okay.
the last time I looked at it. And Gail reassured me that she was you know the I guess it's the town treasurer that would receive this check. But I can check in case, and I think I'll ask her to give us an itemized listing of, you
Yeah.
know,
Because
what's
on
going
this
on in the
one,
account.
it looks, it's still odd to me because like the Veterans Heritage Grant expenses, $890.
Mhm.
It looks like that's still there.
I think that this funding is still there. I think these are things that were like the War Memorial Grant, the Town Pound Maintenance Repair Gift. These it reads as if these are things that were allocated at a point in the past and have continued to be carried forward because that project ended, but there were still funds left.
I'll
And
have to,
I don't know what happens to that funding. I mean,
I'll have to check my old paperwork on the Veterans Heritage Grant. Yeah, it just, the
Yeah,
only
I
thing
guess,
that,
yeah.
the only thing that moved on that was the historical commission. All the others have the same amount, starting and ending, allocated and expended, ending. All right, it's a good start. At least I've got this. I can go to the website and take a look and look at my older form and compare it so I can understand it.
so does I mean, like I would have a question about things like the town pound maintenance and repair. Are we, I mean, should we go take a look at the town pound and see if it's
No.
due for some kind of repair? Like, was there an expectation when that funding was set aside that there was going to be some kind of ongoing maintenance?
Historical Commission, the previous members were very partial to keeping that the brush trimmed so trees didn't grow up, making sure the stones were in place. That we got it mowed once a year, not necessarily mowed, but string trimmed all around. I have to say that the person who, it was an anonymous donation that did it, and it was a little tricky, but we did used to fix it, and it's really not a building. It just, we did it because it needed to be done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That could even, much of it could even be just volunteers on a Saturday going down with our clippers and getting out there's a couple big trees that have grown up in there, but keeping it as is. Barbara Goodhines, one of her sons donated the sign that's there. He had broken a tool while he was creating it and made a impromptu just painted sign. And then when he got his tools fixed and recreated that sign, we kept the painted sign in the closet along with everything else that we could use in an instant, because I've noticed that raised wood sign that's there really isn't holding up very well, but we do have a sign in reserve
Oh, good.
when that one fails.
Mm-hmm.
But a
Okay.
lot of these things were just what random volunteer things, or, you know, in this case, Barbara's son just wanted to do something and donate it. Just like the
Mhm.
sign on the Hearst house, he donated that sign too. He made it. And I think it says something on the back of it, like my mom was on the historical commission for so many years.
Oh,
I have pictures of him under it.
ah, well, I'll look up the Veterans Heritage Grant and the War Memorial Grant, because those were linked, those were part of the same grant. And it was supposed to allow for painting of the three-part white war memorial back several years ago, just before COVID started, and I was in touch with a painter, and then the painter kept saying he'd come and he'd work on it or give me the exact quote and all this other sort of stuff. And then he just stopped answering and saying anything. So, and I tried to find another painter and I couldn't find any other painter. So I'll look up my records on some of that to see if I still have it. I think I do. Because it never got done. So officially, that's part of the SHRAB grant that's still remaining, is to get the war memorial on the common repainted as well.
That war memorial was put in place by the Franklin County Tech School students
Oh.
by under the direction of Al Springer, who was the veterans agent.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if the Franklin County Tech, I can't somehow doubt that they have a painters group, but it's, if you spoke with Al Springer, he might know, or you might know it's possible that it could be painted by Franklin County Tech students again. I don't.
So they created it, they built it?
That's correct.
Oh. Okay. Okay. I'll ask him about it. All right. Thank you.
What I see here is just that we are part of a group, and they labeled us as historic, but we are a separate category. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on there that has no, it's not us, right?
Right.
But do we control those grants and gifts and funds?
I don't believe so.
I believe we do. If
Yes.
Janice applied for that Veterans Heritage Grant
Yes.
under the auspices of Historical Commission, it's
Okay.
ours. I'm
Mhm.
thinking that the town pound, if we needed, I don't know, I guess the highway has plenty to do, but if there was something that volunteers couldn't do themselves, that maybe they
Yeah.
might have the equipment to do something for us if needed too.
Mhm. And that cemetery tree gift, I remember Historical Commission, it was before I think I got on the Historical Commission, but I was on the cemetery. And that was, I think, to remove one or two of the large trees in the cemetery because they were breaking branches and breaking headstones. Isn't that what that one's from, Leslie? Cemetery tree gift?
We'd have to look into that. That one is surprising me. I thought that there was a donation made a long time ago to directly to Cemetery Commission, and it could be the accountant put that in the wrong file. That might be not ours to deal with, but maybe we'd have to check with, it's too bad Susan isn't still here, but
Mhm.
if we checked with Cemetery Commission, we
Yeah.
might find that's not really ours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm still confused about the one that is just Historical Commission.
Oh,
That I guess I don't see how, if we're allocated 10,916 and we expend 8,656, we end up more than we
That's
started.
true. That's true. That's
Everything
interesting.
else-
Wait a minute, are you looking above it? It says library, American, what are you looking
No.
at?
The
What are you
middle of
Um,
section 3.
Historical Commission.
Yeah.
There you go.
That one. So
Yeah.
we're allocated that at the start of the year, right? We expend 8,656, but then we end up with 19,572. Normally, you would see this, right? Like you would see council allocated 980.49, then 400, so less 400 is 580.49. So how does it go up when we spend?
Oof.
Should be
There's
2,000.
something
Something weird.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Something's wrong there. And
Oh, man.
that figure 8,656 is what we paid. That's 50% up front to Williamstown, I believe.
Which was supposed to come from the CPA as
Right.
well,
That's
right?
And is
Mhm.
So
not,
again, it's error.
No,
It's not-
unless is that the 10,000 from CPA that she's added in there, Mateo?
it might be. I'm going to scroll back up to the CPA to see what the,
Okay.
Well, this is what I'm going to get to with her because it doesn't make sense. It needs to be disaggregated.
so the Town Common Guide Board. No, that's the grant.
Uh-huh.
There you go.
Allocated, expended, remaining. So that's the end of phase one. So
Okay, that's good.
yeah, so I don't understand. Did she take it out of,
No.
is it taken out of both?
That
The
might
other
be a
didn't-
question for you, Mateo,
The other
to,
didn't
to
have a
talk with
minus.
her.
This one shows a minus, like it was actually
Mhm.
removed. The other one didn't have a minus next to it, right?
It's like the money was moved into that account out of
Mm.
the CPA account here. I'll ask Gail about this.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
It just seems like things, for the most part, things aren't moving. There's only one or two or three lines that move and the rest are just the same, which worries me that that's not
Well, we
reality.
know for sure that the monies for the down payment, the first half payment to Williamstown,
We're paid.
did not come out of the at least the last time I checked, it did not. And we went over this with Gail.
Yeah.
It came out of our current historical commission account, and she said, as I mentioned to you before, she acknowledged that it was an error, and that, however, it could not be fixed until July of next year. Of course, the
Yeah.
assumption is we're going to be spending that money anyway. If it's 50%, there's
Uh-huh.
about whatever is left there. Well, actually, it's less than 10,000 that's left in that. But this raises more questions for me. It doesn't seem something is not right here.
Mhm.
If I were to just sort of take a stab at it, I think that it looks like the first half was paid out of the CPA grant, and money was somehow put into the historical commission line item to make up for that.
Now,
Mm.
it's possible she made the change despite what she mentioned to me.
That's what I'm guessing. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the only way I could possibly account for it.
But I will confirm that with her, I guess.
But even there, it still shows like for the Rehabilitate West Cemetery, Hearst House. Oh, that's different. Okay, I was thinking, is that what the red house is, Leslie?
That's
red-
the yeah.
That's a Hearst House. So why is that 1,000 still there? Because that was done a long time ago. It's just
Mhm.
too even a number.
Wait a minute.
I'm assuming these things mean that these grants are not fully used.
No, that's what it looks like.
Right, but the exact number, which one are the $1,000 may be the gift from the
Well, there's one that's Restore West Cemetery Graves, 1,000,
Yeah.
but this Rehabilitate is not a-
Rehabilitate.
that is
I'm
that might-
wondering if that's a gift from the Friends. I don't have that ledger in front of me.
Uh-huh. One of the
Yeah.
final votes that they did,
Yeah.
perhaps? Oh, okay. That would explain things.
But then the structural repairs to Old Town Hall, $34,000.
And it's untouched.
That was from a long time ago.
Was that CPA?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it
But-
was never used?
Sometimes ideas never get to fruition for one reason or another.
It's a lot of money.
it just looks like almost nothing was used. Except for the guide board. I mean, the community garden wasn't used. The trail consultant wasn't used.
Right.
All those
Yeah,
things
there was
that-
going to be, we should learn from this that, and Mateo, especially on the CPA.
Oh, that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. I'm looking at this now with my CPA hat on, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I used to, work there all the time, and I'd see the treasurer and I'd make sure that the money came from the different grants, but she wouldn't know enough to be in touch with like the Friends to get the $1,000 they'd promised 6 months ago. Unless I noticed and said, oh, I gotta go ask Joan to write a check for $1,000. So I'm thinking that as CPA grants go forward, you're going to have to give her that ledger page of the finance breakdown. Might help her to get things in the right places. That's
Mhm.
why I think you need to talk with her too. Henry, yes, about historical, but generally, Mateo as CPA, you're chairman, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, lucky
So
you.
and if you don't have a treasurer, then you should be going on financial breakdowns. She probably doesn't even see them. Probably never knew they existed even.
Well,
It
this
may
is-
need, maybe we need some kind of a paper trail for the various things that we're doing, memos or something on paper or whatever to her saying, this is what we want done, or this is what we voted on or something, because we don't have very much communication. So she's receiving everything secondhand or something. I don't know.
Or not receiving it. And that's what I'm saying. After they're approved at town meeting, then it might be wise for CPA to give that budget breakdown that's within the application right to her.
Mm.
And ask her if she has any questions.
Well, we got some work to do on that.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it doesn't itemize, for instance, the monies that came in, the check from the Quabbin event.
Right.
It's not
Yeah.
on there, but
No, it would be nice to get the sort of details. Well, this is expenditure and that would be income or whatever they call it. Right?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
all right.
All right. And I thought that I had a copy of the agenda, but I guess I have an old agenda. I didn't see. So what else do we have on the agenda now?
That's it, unless there's anything.
But we have to
about
decide on how
minutes?
much money to give the cemetery, no?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oof.
And minutes if you want, if you had enough time to look at them. Maybe you didn't, that I sent out
I did.
yesterday.
Can we vote on the minutes then? People had a chance to look at them. And
Mateo, did you have a chance to look at them too or not?
I actually did not, actually.
Okay, well then we can wait till next time. It's
Yeah.
okay.
But we should think about the cemetery request
Yeah.
for support. Should we go with the 500 just to stay with precedent?
And how much do we get a year? Is that the $360 that Leslie
That's
mentioned
right.
last time?
Yep.
So we'd have to take, where would the 500 come from?
Well, we should definitely maybe use that money because we always forget about it and it gets lost basically.
That's right.
But with that, we can't,
That's operating money. I'm not sure that you could put,
right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think we can do it for a
All right,
future
okay.
expenditure. So, but we have a balance still, one way or the other, right? That we can take $500 from.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No question. Yeah. So should we move to offer them 500?
I would move to offer 500 to the Cemetery Commission for their CPA grant.
I second. So going around, Fernandez,
Aye.
Geddes, aye, Pangalo,
Aye.
and Stone.
Aye.
So,
Sorry,
yeah.
who now, Mateo made the motion and who seconded it?
I did.
Okay,
Geddes.
thank you. All right, and then you're gonna write a letter then or something, support
Yes.
letter? They want,
Yeah.
okay,
And I write it to the cemetery committee.
commission, is it committee?
Commission.
I can't remember. I don't
Yes.
remember which it is.
Okay.
Okay,
It's a cemetery commission.
commission, okay. All right. And then just for, people can think about it, whatever, that thing that I sent, the sort of little pamphlet handout about historic homes, to maybe consider doing something like that in Shutesbury. That might be interesting, and have a little handout about some of them, that we can get the information from the Mass Historical resources, and do a little something.
Yeah, it'd be a good way to publicize, some of the historic buildings and things.
Yeah. I'll check in with them. I've gotten to know someone at the Sunderland Historical Society who was involved in that pamphlet, and I will ask her what they did about getting permission from individual landowners to use their house in a handout or that sort of thing.
Or you could just start with the town buildings and then see how it goes over. I
Yeah,
know way back, it was before digital age when we were doing those. People didn't, and I can't tell you specifics, and many houses have changed hands since then, but
yeah,
we promised people that this was confidential. It was just for the purposes for a record of history, because people didn't
Mhm.
necessarily want, well,
Yeah.
anything now that we can get on deeds is public, but going into their houses and stuff, that's different, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I take that
No,
back.
and I don't think I included you, Leslie, on the email, and I should have, just
Oh,
of
you
the,
did.
I
Well,
did? Oh,
somehow I
good.
read
Oh, good.
the brochure and
Yeah,
I thought it was nice. I think I would start with town buildings, which is less invasive, and see how it goes, but
that's a good idea. Yeah, I like that. That's a good idea. Okay. All right. Good.
Okay, so the only last item would be our next meeting. And yeah, we're into December. Do we need to meet before the end of the month? I don't believe so. And so that put us into January.
Okay.
I, this time around, I was reassured by Grace, our town clerk, that there would be no problem. But Tuesdays are a busy night for many. For instance,
Mhm.
I signed us up, on the 22nd of November, and just a week ago, it suddenly filled up. There were other meetings.
Mhm.
So fortunately, one of them is hybrid and was all on its own, so we had no problem tonight.
Oh, that's good.
But is Tuesday still the best time for all of us? Is there another day or?
I could do Tuesday or Wednesday.
Uh-huh.
I thought we were doing, go ahead.
I was gonna say, for me, it depends on Tuesdays or when at different days. Sometimes it's not good. I will say, I mean, the CPC ran into the same problem because school committee meets often on Thursdays at the last minute, and they keep booting me when I book things.
Oh, yeah.
So I've complained about the Zoom situation, and they are in the process of setting it up so that each committee or board has its own Zoom account
Oh.
or Zoom link, which is
Uh-huh.
what I've been pushing for. So hopefully doesn't become an issue, but
Mhm.
Oh, let's hope so. I mean, it gives you the jitters, the day before. My God.
it's not, it's simple enough to do this. It's not a huge expense, but anyway.
We
Yeah,
have a meeting every other Wednesday
Oh, you do? Okay.
at 6:30. So,
Okay.
I mean, if it's not on if it doesn't fall on the same week, then I'm fine with Wednesday.
Okay. What about if I poll you guys with some dates? I'll look at the
Okay.
calendar and you can give me
Okay.
feedback on the best time to meet in January. Am I right?
Yep.
So mid-January or so?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Then if there's nothing else, think we can move to adjourn. Shall we? Yep. I move to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
second.
All right. Going around for Nundes.
Aye.
Geddes eye, Pangalo,
Aye.
and Stone.
Aye.
All right. Thank you all for your time.
Good night.
Okay.
All
All right.
Good
Good
night.
night. Thank you all.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See, we'll meet sometime on the road.
Sounds good.
I'll just knock on your door. How's that?